Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 201128110L. Call for additional details.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley, and Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this, they lob it to him, he taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach of college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3, he's done his part.
Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees aren't even close to the best organization in baseball.
They're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Welcome to Sports Talk with RJ. I'm Steve Risser, along here with Justin D'Onofrio. And last night we had the second week of the college football playoff ranking, and pretty much the same as they were last week. Obviously, we started at the top with Ohio State being number 1. Now I got my opinion. That Georgia is number 2. And now you got Michigan, Florida State, Washington still at 5. Oregon, you got all those one-loss teams with Oregon, Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, and Penn State, all 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, and then Ole Miss at 11, and then you got Oregon State and Tennessee 12 and 13. Really, outside of 13, it doesn't matter because both those teams have what the committee doesn't want from 13 down. They have 2 losses, and they're not going to win their conference title. So everybody from 13 down is eliminated. There's no chance anyone from 13 down is making the college football playoffs. But again, we got to start at 1. And it just makes no sense. It makes no sense that a team that hasn't lost a game in 2 years, the SEC championship game in 2021, that was the last game Georgia lost, is number 2 behind a team that was close to being down by 2 scores to Rutgers in the second half. It makes no sense at all that Ohio State is the number 1 team in the country. And it even makes more – and they try to say, oh, we're going to go off resume. That's why they're number 1. Well, if you're going off resume, then Oregon shouldn't be number 6. Now, I agree with Oregon being number 6. I completely agree with Oregon being number 6 because the eye test tells you that Oregon's number 6. But if you want to go off eye test there, you definitely have to have Georgia number 1. It makes no sense for Ohio State to be the number 1 team in the country, especially with the quarterback that they have.
Yeah, I'm with you. Well, the commissioner, whatever, they played a top 20 defense in Rutgers. Top 20 defense.
Oh, my God. Rutgers a top 20 defense? Are you kidding me? Who are they playing? They played a top 20 defense in Rutgers? Are you serious?
Yes, that's why Ohio State was still number 1.
Oh, my God.
So I'll take your Oregon one a step further. Why don't we flip Bob Washington and Florida State then for playing the resume game? They just beat another top 20 team, and Washington got the best win they got the best win all year of beating Oregon at home because I think Oregon's.
To me, that makes no sense that Florida State's ahead of Washington. Washington has better wins, and I feel like I know they're both undefeated. I know Florida State blew out LSU. It was a close game for the first half, but I know they beat LSU opening night. But LSU's a 3-loss team. I don't get that either. These rankings are really weird. I really don't get these rankings, to be honest with you, especially in the top 10.
No, there's some weird ones. Yeah, like LSU, like how are they still in? They're 6-3. They're the same team as USC. They have an awesome quarterback, but can't stop anybody. They're still in.
They're number 19. I mean, they have no chance to make the playoff, but they're number 19. That's weird.
Some of these rankings are just like Iowa should not be ranked. Like, they're 7-2, but they're 22nd in the country. Yeah, like I'm with you with that. Washington probably should have flip-flop with Washington State. I mean, with Washington. But yeah, like if you're doing resume, then do resume. Continue it. Don't just, but that's consistency.
Stick to one thing. I'm so tired of this committee not sticking to one thing. Yeah, they're going with resume with 1-2. I don't know what the heck they're doing with 4 and 5. I have no idea what they're doing with Florida State and Washington. I don't know what they're doing there because Washington should be out of Florida State. Because they played a much tougher conference than Florida State does. And again, that's where they're saying eye test. I think Washington's even a better team than Florida State too. So maybe they're going eye test there because Florida State's been more impressive against some of the bad teams. I know Washington struggled against Stanford, and didn't they struggle against Arizona State too? They did. Yeah, Arizona State and Stanford. Maybe they're going eye test there, but then they go eye test with the whole Oregon, Texas, Alabama thing. And Texas and Alabama have better wins than Oregon does because Oregon hasn't played some of the tougher teams. They still have to play Oregon State. They still have to play USC. They still have those two teams on their schedule, and they need to beat Washington. So technically, Texas and Alabama have better wins. So that's why they're going eye test there with Oregon, but they're not consistent. The only thing the committee did well was they did have the 13 teams I wanted. They did have the 13 teams that have a chance to win their conference as the top 13. I'll give them credit for that. The rest of it, though, it's very, very inconsistent.
Yeah, that's what it always is. That's why I don't like it. That's why I don't even really watch the show. I just see the comments after from the commissioner. I don't even watch the show because I just look at them after. Like I could care. Because it's they're just, it's so, they're all over the place with these rankings all the time. There's never any consistency. And that's what I think everybody asks for. Just give us consistency. And you never do. Or they never do. And, like Notre Dame's still in there. You know why Notre Dame's still in there, right?
Why?
Because if they're still sitting there at 20, they still got a chance to play for New Year's 6. Notre Dame ratings.
A team that lost. Notre Dame lost to Louisville. Yeah. I know Louisville's good, but Notre Dame lost to Louisville and they lost to Clemson last. Those are two teams in the ACC. How are they top 25? I don't get that at all either.
Ratings. New Year's 6. They still got an opportunity. Exactly. That's why.
Yeah.
That's why. That's why I kind of just you got to take some of it with all right, you got to figure out kind of in their lens what they're looking at there. But yeah, I'm with you. They still got the 12 teams that do still have a shot here. You're going, because if you're going resume, you got to go resume all the way. If you're doing the eye test, then you have to, then yes, then there's, Ohio State should be number 1, or should not be number 1. But yeah, they're so inconsistent. They're all over the place. It's just, I don't know. I get so annoyed with the committee. And again, the BCS was an awful thing too. But man, sometimes I just wish maybe the BCS was back because
that's crazy to say. That's crazy to say.
It is. But maybe next year, maybe it helps that there'll be 12 teams. But I don't know. The committee is just always wonky.
Yeah, it makes absolutely no sense. It makes absolutely no sense. It makes no sense that Ohio State – the one that bothers me the most, and it bothered me last week, is Ohio State being the number 1 team in the country because, to me, they're not even a top 5 team in the country. I think that Georgia's definitely better. I think that Michigan's a more complete team. I think that Florida State's better, and I think that Oregon's better. I honestly don't think Ohio State's a top 5 team in the country with the quarterback that they have, and they've proven it week by week with some of the wins they've had. They struggled with Wisconsin, who was not good. They struggled with Rutgers, If that holding call doesn't happen in the Penn State game, they might lose that game. So every week they just don't impress me. Ohio State doesn't impress me with the quarterback that they have.
No, yeah, McCord has not been great. He's just so tentative. It looks like sometimes soon he just doesn't trust in his wide receivers all the time, and which is a problem. You got Marvin Harrison, but as your emergency blanket. But yeah, like I'm with you. Like they weren't going eye test, or if they were going eye test, yeah, I'm with you. Like Ohio State is probably fifth right now because their offense it has not clicked all year, and maybe they could click in Michigan State this week because they're awful. But it'll be interesting though. Like Georgia's playing, Ole Miss, and Michigan's at Penn State. Like it'll be interesting this week if they start to kind of move Ohio State back a bit. We'll see kind of how much the resume means after Georgia and Michigan if they both win this week. If they start to kind of shuffle that top three there, which part of me thinks they will, part of me thinks they will. Or
if Georgia and Michigan win, they got to move them up ahead of Ohio State. That's where that's when they can stop using this resume excuse. If Georgia beats Ole Miss and Michigan goes into Penn State and wins, they got to move both those two schools ahead of both those two teams ahead of Ohio State.
Yeah, they should. I'm with you. They should. I don't know. I seriously don't know. It's like you say you don't know what these guys don't, but they're ever going to put together because they obviously don't watch all the games. But yeah, like Ohio State on the eye test, they should not be number one right now. It's just the offense just is not clicking. And again, Michigan has not let up, or Michigan has not, and a Michigan opponent so far this year, they have not given up, or they have not faced a first and goal this year. Like that's how down Michigan has been.
Wow.
Like,
yeah.
So it's Georgia and Michigan should probably definitely be Ohio State, but yeah, we'll again maybe they change this week, maybe but who knows? They should. If Ohio State does not beat Michigan State by 4 scores, then yeah, they should definitely move back after the week because they're playing a bad Michigan State team this weekend.
Absolutely. Now we're going to get to the games this weekend. We're going to get to the biggest game this weekend. We got Michigan and Penn State, and I think this is going to be a great game between these two teams. Here's the thing: something's got to give on Saturday. Michigan's offense has not had a game where they've had under 100 rushing yards, but outside of the West Virginia game, Penn State hasn't given up over 100 rushing yards. So something's got to give on Saturday. I do think what's going to happen is Michigan is going to go over 100 rushing yards. I think they're going to have a pretty good game running the ball. But I do think Drew Aller is going to play pretty well against this defense. He played his best game last week. I think they're going to face a first and goal this week. They're going to against Penn State because I think that Drew Aller plays pretty well. I think they do a decent job running the ball. But I think the difference in this game is going to be I think Michigan will run the football better. And I do think this Michigan defense is going to force a couple turnovers from Drew Aller. And let's be honest, you can't trust James Franklin in these big games. He's 4-14 against Ohio State and Michigan. He's 1-9 against Ohio State. Yeah, he's not terrible against Jim Harbaugh. He's 3-5 against Harbaugh. But look at the three Harbaugh teams he beat. The 2017 team, that was not a great team. The 2019 Michigan team was not a great team, and then the 2020 Michigan team that was Harbaugh's worst team. When Harbaugh's had a really good team, he's had his way with James Franklin. He had his way in 2016. Had his way in 2018. They beat them bad in 2016. He beat them bad in 2018, and he beat them bad in 2022. And then he beat them in 2021 in that really close game where Eric called the touchdown. So when Jim Harbaugh has had a really good team, he has beaten Franklin. He's been really good against Franklin with really good teams. The only times he's lost to Franklin is when he hasn't had that good of a team. So I think this is a close, competitive game. But as a Penn State fan, I'm going to take Michigan to stay undefeated. I got Michigan winning this game 27-20. But, Justin, can Penn State stay in the playoff race?
No, yeah, Michigan 17-10.
Wow.
Yeah. I did think Drew Aller played really well last week. I'm not trying to take any away from Penn State, but I thought that was more Maryland just quit. Like I thought
Maryland, that coach can get fired at Maryland.
They might get. What are they at now? I think they're
5-4. They've lost 4 in a row. Yeah. They lost to Illinois and they lost to Northwestern.
Yeah, what their schedule coming up? They got Nebraska on the road, Michigan, still in Rutgers. Like if they lose out, I could see that happening. But that's a good. I don't know what his contract's at right now, but
Yeah.
Maryland, they got Under Armour money, so we'll see. But I wouldn't be shocked if he gets fired the way they played Saturday. That was pathetic effort by the Terrapins. But going back to the Penn State Michigan game, for me with Penn State, there's not a different maker on this offense, and who's like Dante Cypress again finally kind of had a good game last week, but can he do it now against a really good Michigan team? They need him to make a couple of big plays. And Michigan's going to get after Drew Aller. And how does he do under pressure? Because I think he's only completing like 38% of his passes when he's under pressure. It's going to be – now it's at home, so like I do expect them to play better than they did at Ohio State. But this defense is nasty. Again, I've said it the last couple of times we talked about Michigan. They got guys up on the defensive line like Georgia does the last couple of years. Like they have dudes that are going to be drafted high up there. Can Penn State give them enough time to make plays in this one? And then, for the Wolverines with McCarthy, I do think he's improved somewhat. But, like, how much have they saved? Because they have not needed to show anything this year. So, like, I'm wondering what they've kind of held back. McCarthy, like, he kind of turned into a runner at the end of last year. He hasn't really done that much at all. So I'm wondering if they're going to bring that kind of element back this week. And Michigan doesn't have a Marvin Harrison either. Their slot guy, Roman Wilson, usually, they'll line up in the slot. He could be he's not a Marvin Harrison level, but he is somebody that can make a couple of big plays this week and maybe give Michigan that advantage in this one. But I feel like, going back to Penn State too, you're not going to have a 14-play drive for 75 yards against this defense. You're going to have to hit explosive plays. And I know they did a little bit last week. And I know they did in the Indiana game, but I don't know if they're going to be able to do that against this Michigan team. I just think it's to be very low scoring. And I think Penn State is going to need like a defensive touchdown in this one or a couple of defensive kind of forces some turnovers or special teams play. And I think Michigan's defense is just going to be too tough. And I see them struggling in this one. And unfortunately for James Franklin, a year where could have got, I know Michigan were better than everybody thought, but this was kind of the year where James Franklin really had a really good chance. But, you lose this one, obviously, that all goes down the drain.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now going to a little bit of a bigger story, and this is the Michigan sign stealing scandal and having this connected to the game on Saturday. How much of a distraction do you think this sign? Say there's a potential suspension from now. There's a potential suspension from Harbaugh before this game, then definitely it's a distraction. But if say Harbaugh is not suspended for this game for some reason, how big of a distraction though will it be for Michigan going into this game?
I think for Michigan, I think it's more of a kind of like the Astros way of like, we're going to still show you we're good. Even if we are, if you believe, even if they're stealing the sign, I believe they're going out there and you're like, okay, we could still go out there and just absolutely crush you. Like we don't need the signs of, the sign stealing stuff to win football games. Like I think it's a motivational factor for Michigan. It sounds like if anything happens, it's going to come down from the Big Ten today. I don't see Harbaugh getting suspended because Michigan's just going to go fight that in court. And again, that's not going to get decided till the offseason. So I don't see Harbaugh getting suspended. I don't think that's very likely. Or if it is, they're going to fight it. So look, I think it's a big motivational factor for Michigan. I think they were wearing shirts when Harbaugh did his own kind of 3-game suspension at the beginning of the year. They had free Harbaugh shirts on. Like this is all motivational stuff. And I think Harbaugh is really kind of drilling that into him. And they around their practice field, they put up like 15-foot fences this week to make, they're again kind of all, making sure that nobody's peeking against them, I guess. So I think it's all motivational for Michigan. I think, could be a little bit distraction, but I think Harbaugh turns it into a good, like a positive thing, I guess, team wise.
Yeah, I don't think it will be. I think Harbaugh, if he's not suspended, is going to have his team ready to go, and I just don't think it's going to be a distraction. If this was a distraction, they would have, maybe struggled with with the Michigan States and the Purdue's, and they didn't. So I don't think it's going to be a distraction. But the next question, going now, focusing on Penn State, if Franklin wins this game, would this be the biggest win of his career at Penn State? I'd say the second biggest win. I think the biggest win of his career was the Wisconsin win because that winning that game gave them a shot on Selection Sunday to make the playoff. Even if they win this game, they'd still need Michigan to beat Ohio State, and even with that, it's still going to be difficult for them to win the Big Ten East. It's going to be difficult to decide which one of those three teams is going to. Do you know what the tiebreaker is if they all beat each other up?
I think it's either. I think it's your combination of the 3 Big Ten West schools you played, I believe.
Okay.
So I'd have to go deep in. I know Penn State played
Illinois and Iowa. Yeah,
Illinois is starting to play better.
Yep. Wisconsin played. Ohio State played Wisconsin.
Yep. Michigan had Purdue, Minnesota, Nebraska. But all those West teams, they're all 4-2, 3-3. It's all jumbled together.
Yeah,
so
yep.
it's anybody's race. So I think it's that, or it's the best record you played from the West out of the 3.
Gotcha.
It's out of the West.
Gotcha. But even if he wins this game, you're not guaranteeing that Penn State's going to go to the playoff. They're going to make the playoff. I know they didn't make it in 2016, but at least there was a Big Ten championship and they had a chance on Selection Sunday. So I would say this would be the second biggest win in his career. This would be top 3. This would be top 3 with the Wisconsin win, the Ohio State win in 2016. This would definitely be top 3 with the Wisconsin win and the Ohio State win in 2016. Do you think though, if he wins this game, would this be his biggest win?
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, this would, because he really needs this one. There's, because I was even thinking about it, when he was at Vandy. I was watching Vandy again this week, or, I saw him play. And it's he won 10 games there, which is 10 games, which is very impressive. But he did it when all those SEC East teams were down. So, I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but, if those SEC teams East teams were at normal level, maybe he'd go 6 wins. So, I'm not trying to say he's a bad coach, but this is a huge, this is absolutely a huge game. You had you got Drew Aller. I know he's still a sophomore. He's got a couple years left, but this is supposed to be an upgrade from Sean Clifford. This guy was supposed to get you to the next step. If he goes out there and just plays horrible again, then it kind of puts a lot of more pressure again, because it's not going to get easier with Oregon and Washington coming in. We'll see what happens to USC. I'm not, high on them, but it's not going to get any easier to win this conference. So I think this was kind of the year going in where you felt like Penn State had the chance. You lose up both of them yet again. It is a little bit of down here, but so it'd be such a huge win for him to get this one.
Yeah. So would you? I would obviously have it as his second best win. You'd have it as his best win if he gets it. Yeah,
actually, after I'll go with the second one as well.
Gotcha.
Because that's the year they won the Big Ten. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So huge year for James. Huge game for James Franklin. Huge game for Penn State and Michigan. Should be a really good game between those two teams. But we got to move on to the game in the SEC between Ole Miss and Georgia. And this is a very interesting game. You got Ole Miss number 9. You got Georgia number 2. Ole Miss trying to keep their college football playoff hopes alive. The thing is, they're going to have a tough time winning the SEC. With Alabama winning that game on Saturday night, they're going to have a tough time winning the SEC West. So they need Alabama to lose to both Kentucky and Auburn. So that's going to be really tough. So they're going to try to. The Ole Miss is just really good. They're Ole Miss. For Ole Miss, they just got to hope. So they just got to win out and maybe hope for chaos to see if they can get that, if they can somehow sneak into the college football playoff. But I think this is a really good game between these two teams. I think Bowers' injury will keep this game closer. I think Milton knows a good game on the ground. I think Beck plays well. I think it comes right down to the end. I'm going to go with Georgia here. I think both teams play well. I think both defenses play pretty well too. I think it comes right down to the end where Georgia kicks a game-winning field goal, and I got the Bulldogs staying undefeated, winning this game 27-24. But Justin, can Ole Miss keep their college football playoff hopes alive?
No chance. No chance.
Really? Wow. Without Brock Bowers, you don't think they have a chance? I know they got beat at Alabama, but you don't think they have a chance?
No, I got 41-24. I don't think Ole Miss defense is overrated.
Really? Wow.
A&M went up and down the field last week, and A&M lost their best receiver.
Wow.
Carson Beck's playing well. I think this is the week Georgia kind of gets their running game going. But so I think I see this game going two ways. I see this as, okay, so Georgia next week, they're going to Tennessee. They're playing a Saturday night game, and I could see where Kirby Smart just wants to get out of there. He doesn't want a 4-hour marathon. He just runs the football, just kind of, keeps this thing at like a 10, 14-point spread and just gets out of there, hopes no injuries. Or I could see him absolutely unloading, trying to get that passing game going with Carson Beck, and just, and Ladd McConkey having a huge day, and they could put up over 40. So and just kind of going up tempos, a little bit more up tempo stuff. So I can't trust Lane Kiffin in a big game. I just can't.
You're very anti Lane Kiffin.
No. Yeah. Oh, yeah. He overthinks everything in big games. And I can't back him in those type of games. So I got Georgia win this thing. I think Ole Miss I think they're a fraud 9-1 team. I really don't think they're that great.
Wow. They're 9-1 in the SEC West. They're 8-1 in the SEC West.
They are.
They got a good offense.
They are, but like Tulane put up 30 with their backup quarterback. Yeah, they went on the road. They beat LSU at home. Then they got a bad Arkansas team. They got Auburn on the road who stinks. They had Vandy, A&M at home. Like their schedule's been very favorable in the SEC. I feel like this year. Like I think this is. I don't think this is. I think it's a good football team, but I don't think it's a 9-1 team. Like I don't think they're going in between. I don't think they're going out of Athens, Georgia, and knocking off Georgia. I just don't see it happening.
Gotcha.
Not. I can't. I'm not buying this Ole Miss team. I'm not. And the one thing this is my conspiracy theory too. If Saban does end up retiring, which I don't know if he will or not, Lane Kiffin wants that Bama job.
Oh yeah.
He would be in, knowing Kiffin, he knows if I can knock off Georgia, I could be sitting pretty well for that job. That job opens up. So that's where I see him doing some dumb decisions on like 4th and 6 at his own 40, trying to go for, so that's why that's my conspiracy theory. So I got Georgia by like two scores.
We'll stay in the SEC with Alabama and Kentucky. And I think maybe the game's closed for a quarter or a half, but I think in the second half, Alabama pulls away. I think Jalen Milroy is starting to play really, really well. I think he has a couple rushing touchdowns and a couple passing touchdowns. And I think Bama's defense forced a couple turnovers. And I got Bama clinching the SEC West, beating Kentucky 34-17. But Justin, can Kentucky pull a big upset and hand Bama its second loss of the year?
I don't think they will. I got Bama 31-17. Yeah, I could see this thing being closer half, sleepy, hangover for Alabama. It's a noon kick, But if Ray Davis can have a big game on the ground for Kentucky, I could see this thing keeping it close. But, man, the night they went to Georgia, they got absolute manhandled. I know they played Missouri the next week, and they really struggled to win that one as well. Milroe's starting to kind of, start improving. I think, he's been bound a hamstring, and I think he looked really healthy on Saturday night, the way he was able to run the football. I think Jalen Milroe, Alabama's offense, is going to be able to kind of move the ball against Kentucky's defense. Again, Mark Stoops, usually pretty good as a dog, but I just don't see Alabama coming in. I don't see Kentucky knocking off Bama. Again, I think, Nick Saban after a bye, I think this team's starting to kind of roll and get better. You're kind of starting to see it as well. So I got the Tide going to the SEC West and setting up that big showdown in about a month with Georgia.
Yeah, it looks like those two teams are going to be playing in that SEC championship game in Atlanta. Should be really exciting between those two teams. But we got the Battle of Florida this week as Miami takes on Florida State. Miami has definitely gone the other way, especially Tyler Van Dyke. He has really struggled, throwing a lot of interceptions recently. Jordan Travis playing really well, though. I think this game's a blowout. I think that Benson has a big game. I think Travis has a big game. I think Coleman has a big game. I think Van Dyke throws a couple picks. I got Florida State staying undefeated, winning 38-17. But can the Canes? We've seen historically, and it's been a while since they've done it. We've seen the Canes historically ruin the Seminoles season. Can they do it this year? Can the Canes somehow ruin the Seminoles season this year?
And the only way they can do that is they're able to run the football. Because you mentioned it, Tyler Van Dyke right now, he looks broken out there. I don't know what it is, but yeah, his last two games he's got 0 touchdowns and 5 interceptions. NC State's got a really good defense, but like Virginia's defense is nothing to write home about. So they can run the football well enough, yeah, but I don't know what's wrong with Van Dyke right now. I don't know if he's banged up, but it was a leg injury. Like I don't think it's anything with his arm. So I'm really worried right now. And Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson didn't play last week. It sounds like it was more precautionary, but like if those two don't play, maybe Florida State or Miami keeps this thing interesting defensively, but I don't see it. And again, this is maybe one of the bigger coaching mismatches, Mike Norvell versus Mario Cristobal. And
what the heck? I remember the Georgia Tech game. What the heck was Mario Cristobal doing at the end of that game?
I don't know. They never take a knee. They never do for whatever reason.
That's crazy. How has he not been? Is he gonna get fired for the season? First of all,
he's got a ton of money.
Oh.
He's got a ton of Miami owes him a lot, and he's recruiting at a very high level.
Yeah, but they're not winning games. That's the problem.
Yeah, that is. But I'm trying to remember what he's getting paid. But it's a lot of money. Miami had to offer him up, and I think they'll give him.
That's crazy.
Probably another year or two, I think. But yeah, it's not good. I said when he took the job, he left Oregon, like maybe he gets him to a playoff, but he ain't winning anything big there. He ain't. He's not a good game. He's a heck of a recruiter, but yeah, he can't win these big matchups. He can't.
No, he definitely can't. Big 12 matchup, no, a Pac-12 matchup in Washington, as Utah heads to Washington to play them. And I think, maybe Utah keeps us close for a half, but I think Washington pulls away in the second half. I think Penix has a big game, just like Bo Nix did against them. I don't think this is going to be a little bit more competitive. I don't think Kyle Whittingham will get blown out like he did to Utah, but I think it's going to be a little bit more competitive. But I think Washington pulls away in the second half. I got Washington winning this one 34-20, but can the Utes hand Washington their first loss? No,
I got the Huskies as well, 31-17. Washington looked better last week. They were able to run the football really well, but everybody's able to do that against the Trojans. And Utah, that score is a little bit misleading. They won 55-3, but Arizona State was down 7 offensive linemen. An Arizona defender actually had a late hit against the Utah running back, and Kyle Whittingham took that personal, and they pretty much ran it up, and they knocked out that Arizona State quarterback out of the game. So, little frustration I think was taken out of the Utes last week, and I got Washington 31-17. I don't think Utah, when they get behind, their passing attack it's not going to be able to keep up. And I think Penix plays well enough, and they do enough, and Washington wins by 2 scores at home.
We got an SEC matchup in Missouri in Columbia as the Tennessee takes on Missouri. And I think this is a close competitive game. I think this game comes right down to the end. But I'm going to take the home team here. Because Tennessee has not played well on the road. They lost at Florida. They lost at Alabama. They've not played well in the second half on the road either. I'm going to go with Missouri here. I'm going to go with Missouri in the upset to end Tennessee's slim hopes to win the SEC East. I got Missouri winning this one 31-28 over Tennessee. But can Tennessee keep their very slim chances to win the SEC East alive on Saturday?
No, I got the Tigers as well, 28-24. Luther Burden, the Missouri wide receivers, he was on the injury report the other day, but it sounds like he's going to give it a go, which is going to be huge in this one. I think Brady Cook and does enough, and I think Eli Drinkowitz kind of schemes up enough open stuff for him, and Theo Wise, their other wide receiver, I think they play well. And Missouri's it says, Tennessee's blown out Missouri the last 2 years, so I feel like that kind of revenge angle as well. And Tennessee, the old line's been banged up. And last week against UConn, their left tackle, John Campbell, didn't play. It sounds like that's another kind of precautionary one. But in some of in that Florida game you mentioned, they were down a couple offensive linemen. I think Missouri could get pressure on them and get pressure on Joe Milton in this one. And I think they stop the running game or slow down the running game enough. And I think the Tigers at home get the win.
We got a Big 12 matchup in Fort Worth as Texas has the fourth worst to face TCU. And I think this is going to be a close game. I think Sonny Dykes' team will keep it close for a half, but I think, again, Texas pulls away in the second half with Brooks. I'm not sure if Ewers is going to play or not, but I think Brooks and Worthy, I think those guys are too much for this TCU defense. And I got Texas winning this game 30-20 over TCU. But, Justin, can the Horned Frogs ruin their in-state rival season?
I think they got a great chance, but I got the Horns 27-24.
Wow.
Yeah, Quinn Ewers was throwing Monday during practice, but yeah, Sark didn't kind of give anything if he's playing or not. So we'll see if he can give it a go or not. But yeah, Malik Murphy did not have a very good second half in that game. Yeah, they very easily could have lost that game Saturday. Now you got to go on the road in a conference game with your back quarterback. Usually that could end in a disaster. But TCU, I think, could kind of expose the Texas secondary. They'll hit some big plays. The problem with TCU is they've just been so inconsistent. You don't know what team's going to show up, which is kind of like last year. They blow some teams out, and then they kind of let some of the teams they should have blown out kind of stay in the match. So it's been a very up and down year for the Horned Frogs. They might get Chandler Morris back, their starting quarterback, but I still think they keep this thing close. But I got Texas on the road surviving yet again 27-24.
We'll wrap up with a Pac-12 matchup in Eugene as USC, who's really struggling, faces Oregon. And I think Oregon wins this game. I think they win it by a couple scores. They score a bunch of points. I don't think USC stops them at all. I think Bo Nix has a huge day. I think Caleb Williams will keep up with them for a little bit, but eventually Oregon's offense will be too much for USC. I got Oregon winning this one 52-31. I have given up on Lincoln Riley, even though he fired his defensive coordinator. I think Oregon wins this by 3 scores. But Justin, the big question is can Caleb Williams and USC ruin Oregon's season on Saturday night?
No, I got the Ducks as well. Same score as you, 52-31. Yes, Alex Grinch was fired. That should have been probably years ago. But look, Washington, who has not really run the ball all year, Dylan Johnson had 256 yards. 199 of those came before contact. Now you're going up against an Oregon team that's even more physical than Washington is. And on the road, I'd be surprised if Oregon even punts once in this game. Bo Nix, Bucky Irving, the running back, should just go run all over this USC defense. And I could see the Ducks kind of getting pressure like Notre Dame did in that game where, Caleb Williams threw a couple interceptions. I could kind of see Caleb in this game. They fall behind early, try to kind of, fit some balls in some small windows. And, I just don't think USC's got much of a chance in this one. And USC, Lincoln Riley wants to be serious about defense. Go get the former Wisconsin DC, now at Illinois, the defensive analyst, and Jim Leonard. Go get him because he knows the Big Ten very well. But
absolutely, that'd be a great hire.
Would be. So
that'd be a great hire. But Lincoln Riley's in for a rude awakening when he comes to the Big Ten. He's in for a rude awakening next year, and even this year he struggled in the Pac-12. But even though the Pac-12 is really good, but he struggled in his own backyard. He's in for a rude awakening going into the Big Ten. But UConn basketball opened their season on Monday night. But before we give you their season preview, we're going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEX Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
Season on Monday night at Gamble, they raised the banner for their 2023 national championship, and they opened up winning 95-52 over Northern Arizona. But the big question is going into the season is, should they be the favorite to repeat as national champions? And I'm going to say no, because every single time UConn has won a national title, 99, and the 2000 season, they didn't get out of the second round. 2004, then in 2005, they didn't get out of the second round again. 2011, 2012, they didn't get out of the first round, and then we all know in 2015 they missed the tournament entirely. But that was Kevin Ollie, so there's no chance of that happening. We actually have a really good coach now in Dan Hurley, not a coach that benefited from someone else's team winning in Kevin Ollie. So I don't think so. We know they're going to make the tournament. That's obvious. That's definitely going to happen. But the biggest question is, are they going to repeat? I just don't think. I think it's just so hard to repeat in college basketball. I think they have the team to do it. I think they definitely got the team to do it. I love Castle, Cam Spencer, Klingon, and Kieran should be better this year. You got Tristan Newton back too, so I think they got the team to do it. But I just think it's so hard in college basketball to repeat. So I'm going to say no, they shouldn't be the favorite to repeat.
Yeah, I have them. I think like kind of fourth, fifth best kind of chance to win it all. Like I think they have one of the better shots to do it.
Which they're in the mix. Listen, they have a chance. They're a contender, absolutely. I just think it's so hard to do it in college basketball. The last team to repeat was Florida in 2007.
And that Florida team was just that was all NBA dudes. That all came back.
And if you backtrack from that, the last team to repeat was Duke in 91 and 92.
That was Hurley was on that team though.
His brother was on the team, not Dan.
Yes.
His brother was on the team, but there was a Hurley on that team.
Yeah, so maybe, but yeah, again, they you lose three really great leaders. Andre Jackson just do a little bit of everything. Sonogo, just a physical presence down low, and then Jordan Hawkins, who I don't think I've ever seen. Besides like Rip Hamilton and Ray Allen just come off of screens the way he does, like that's just something you never see. And the Pelicans I've been watching a ton of Pelican games. They're playing well. They're running. Yeah. They're running a ton of sets for him. Yeah.
He's playing well.
Yeah. So it's been great to see him do well. So you lose three terrific leaders, and you got Carabin Klingon, and you're younger too this year, which sometimes you see the youth in college basketball doesn't always pan out. So, I think they're up there. They got one of the better chances right now. I think if they had Duke or Kansas written across their name, they'd probably be like second right now in the country, But again, I like that about UConn is they kind of always go under the radar. I'd rather have that than always have the national media attention in front of us. So, look, I think this team's got a chance, but yeah, it's just so impossible to do that I don't see it happening. I see this team getting out of the first weekend. Like that's something we haven't done after we've won a championship. I think that team's going to be able to do it. But yeah, I just, there is a path though. It's Brooklyn and Boston. They can get Brooklyn and Boston.
If they get a top seed, that's big. That's big.
Yeah.
So what's Brooklyn?
That's the first, second round. That's
first, second round.
Yeah,
and then Boston. I think if they get a top seed, they could be going to Boston. I wouldn't be surprised about that.
Me neither. So there is that path there where you could do it and you could kind of have some home court advantage, but it is still a very tough task to do. So we'll see. But I think they have a shot, and I think they have one of the better shots in the last couple of years of recent national champions.
Absolutely. Now, the big question is UConn was picked for third in the media preseason poll. I'm not a fan of that. I think they should have been picked higher than that because of seeing that I think their team is as good as Creighton and their team is as good as Marquette. So in my opinion, I think they should be the favorite to win the Big East. I know they didn't win the Big East last year. They won the national championship, but they didn't win the Big East last year. But in my opinion, I think they should be the favorite to win the Big East because Stephon Castle was completely disrespected for the preseason All Big East team. He wasn't even on the second team. The guy's projected to be a top 3 pick. How is he not on the second team? I think the addition of Spencer is going to help. I think, obviously, as I talked about Klingon and Kiraban. And I know that, Marquette and Creighton, return their top 2 scorers. Marquette, Tyler Kolek's back. Cam Jones is back from Tyler Kolek and Cam Jones are back from Marquette. And then you look at Creighton, you got Trey Alexander and you got Ryan Kalbrenner back for them. So they got their 2 top scorers back. And UConn lost their 2 top scorers in Sonogo and Hawkins. But they have a guy in Stephon Castle that has the potential to be the better than anybody in this conference. Even though he was disrespected, he has potential to be better than anybody in this conference. I think Klingon was going to be improved. I don't know if he replaces Sonogo completely, but I think he'll be definitely improved. I think he'll average about 13 to 15 points a game. I think Karaban's going to average about 12 points a game, a good 3-point shooter. Cam Spencer averaged 13 a game at Rutgers. So I think offensively, if you look at the team offensively, 4 of the 5 guys can hit threes, and they got a good big. So I just don't see why this team shouldn't be the favorite to win the Big East. I think they should be the favorite to win the Big East. Justin, do you think they should be the favorite to win the Big East?
I have them third. I think they're in a good spot.
Really?
I think
third?
Yeah. I have them third. I went back and forth with them and Creighton all offseason, and I was telling you before the show, I think Kaluma leaving, I think it's good. I think that helps. And I think even Nembhard too was a little ball dominant. And because Creighton's offense, they love to move the ball. They love to keep
and you're a Greg McDermott guy.
I do I think he's a very good coach. I think he's a phenomenal. I know he had that one incident, but outside of that, I think he's a very phenomenal coach. And he even said, he kind of called out, I don't know if it was Nembhard or he called out or Kaluma, but he was like Spencer Ashford. He knows when he gives up the ball, he knows there's a chance he's not going to get it back.
Oh, wow.
So, he's calling out one of those two guys, maybe even both of them. But so and Creighton's offense looked really good. They put 4 AM, but that, and with Marquette, the one thing I do worry about Marquette is you think of Shaka. He didn't do well at Texas because you're at Tech. He was picked 9th last year. I never understood that one. I had them 6th last year, I believe.
Yeah.
He's great at bulletin board, kind of motivating. Now you got the target on the back. So that one worries me a bit, but you have to pull it
You're
back.
right about Shaka Smart. When he seems to be expected to win, he never really lives up to the hype. When he made that run, VCU wasn't expected to win. Texas, he never really lived up to the hype. Yeah, and last year wasn't expected to do much, but they won the Big East. So yeah, it seems like when Shaka's is expected to win, he's not as good.
Yep. Yeah. Do you know the last time he got out of first weekend of the NCAA tournament?
When?
2011, that VCU
year.
team.
Yeah.
That Final Four team. So it's been a while. So now so I could maybe see Creighton or Marquette, but I understand why that whole team's back. You give them the respect that they do deserve. So I get them one. But yeah, with UConn again, I could see them winning. Karaban, he had 22 there night. I didn't even feel like he had 22. Now, you talk about the cast of respect. Karaban, he was honorable mention too. And again, last year, they didn't get Rookie of the Year. They gave it to Whitmore. Dan Hurley's been putting that in his head every day. They practice. So, look, I think Hurley probably likes it too to motivate the team. But, Cam Spencer, I thought was very unselfish the other day. And he's a guy, I think his numbers going to go up because Rutgers they slow the game down and all that. So he's going to have a lot more possessions offensively to kind of score. But yeah, I do. And I thought the freshmen played well. They're going to be tested. It's not it's not going to be like last year where they just steamrolled everybody. So we'll kind of see how they do. But yeah, I think third's good. Again, this conference is loaded. This is the best.
I know Villanova's got a good team. I think that Providence has Hopkins. I don't think they'll be as good without Cooley. They got their best player back in Bryce Hopkins. Xavier. Yeah, they lost a lot, but Sean Miller's there. Do you think they'll be better, Xavier?
Zach Fremantle and Jerome Hunter are both out for the year, so I think they're going to struggle. They didn't look great the other night. They're going to have to rely on kind of transfer guards again to kind of will them. So,
but don't forget Patino at St. John's and Seth Greenberg said last night they're a tournament team.
St. John's?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. There's a lot of mid-major transfers, so that's my one worry. But I think there's a lot of talent, and he's pressing still. The defense is a work in progress, I feel like. But Patino's going to have that team by February, March in rare form. So
I think that's a team that could get to that's going to be a fun, especially Thursday at the tournament because you're going to have UConn there. You're going to obviously have Creighton and Marquette, and you're going to have Villanova. But St. John's definitely going to get to the second day of that tournament. They may even get to the semifinals because Joel Soriano is one of the best players in the league.
He developed a jump shot too, which is even more scary. So he's another one.
Patino will make you do that. Patino's going to make it. You can't just stand and hear the basket. Patino will make it. He knows what's going on. Patino. Oh yeah,
yes, he does. So he's one of the better guys. So, he's Slick Rick. We know his his past, but he's good at. He's very good X's O's coach. So look, he's going to relish that. And St. John's, they haven't been in the semifinals since 2003. the Big East semifinals. Like it's been a while. So this is definitely the year. They're going to be good. So like the conference is loaded. The poor DePaul.
I know. Do you think Cooley's going to, do you think that Georgetown can maybe, get to maybe day 2 of the tournament? Or they're still down?
They don't have the bigs.
Gotcha.
They don't have the bigs.
And with Mata and Butler, do you think Butler will be? And they got one of the. They got Posh Alexander. Do you think they'll be a little better, Butler?
I think they'll be a little bit better, but I still don't love that roster. Like I heard, he was talking like some of the guys just didn't gel well last year.
Yeah.
They got a kid, DJ Davis from he played at UC Irvine last year, really good scorer.
Yeah.
Shot 40% from 3, but like. Sometimes this conference, it's tough to rely on mid-major guys to come in here and kind of be the guy. So
exactly,
I think they're destined to be like 9th, 10th, somewhere around there. But again, with that Mata, I still believe that you kind of get it going, but they don't spend like the other team. Like they're kind of a fish out of the water the way they spend and all that, unfortunately. So
So you would say down again. So you would say top 6 teams, obviously Marquette, Creighton, UConn, Villanova, Providence, and St. John's.
Yeah, the only one I'd have St. John's 5, Providence 6. But other than that, I agree with the rest of it. Yeah, that's my top 6. And if Xavier gets 7, do well enough, you could have 7 teams in the NCAA tournament. I think 6 is very likely. I think it's possible if Xavier could figure it out to live 7 this year, which would be awesome.
Gotcha. Yeah, it would be nice. That would be really, really nice for the Big East. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with R&J. For Justin and Alfredo, I'm Steve Risser. We'll be back next week talking about Week 11 of the NFL season and Week 12 of the college football season. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Jones on first down, wide open, it's Barkley. And Saquon Barkley will take it into the end zone.
Your best ability is availability. Saquon Barkley, he's great when he's on the field, but the problem is since 2018, he hasn't been healthy for this team.
Look at this. They lob it to him. He taps it in off the glass. How about that?
Porter Moser, I think right now is the best coach of college basketball, hands down.
Fins 2 for 3. He's done his part. Pitch is drilled to deep right field toward the pole, and it is gone.
They don't mind not being what they were in the 90s as the best organization in baseball, because the Yankees aren't even close to the best organization in baseball.
They're trying to be the Rays, and the Rays do this for a reason. Like, you're the Yankees.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All 4 Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the unsolved murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.